Welcome to Always Real Talk. I'm Kwame and I'm sitting in with Jeff Anderson from District Dig, so you know it's gonna be real. The city that is flourishing, the city that is overflow with cash, a city where people say is great, which it is, there are some areas called the Housing Authority that's doing a terrible job. And when you talk to the residents that live there, they tell you that. Now, I know sometimes people think because you are low income that you don't know that you're living in bad conditions. And you're making up the fact that you're living in bad conditions. But I know you've done a ton of reporting in the past. What is the District Dig? What's your thoughts on what's going on over there? I know you had some.
Well, on the Housing Authority piece, I want to point out one thing is that, and I made this point in the article that I wrote on Berry Farms, is that people love their community. You know, there's real joy and real spirit in that community, and you could see it in the faces of everyday people. That's what they know. They're pissed off because there's, you know, leaks and mold, and they're being threatened with displacement, and that's the area that becomes a problem for the city, for the residents, for taxpayers, for journalists, and that's where I feel like leadership in the city is letting down the residents of the city. So it's not fair to say it's a terrible place to live. It's been made terrible over time through neglect, but there's still a lot of, you know, there was guys detailing cars, listening to the go-go, kids coming down the street on their big wheels, and you know, there's spirit in those communities. Sursum Corda is not far from where I live, and I would walk by there as they were tearing it down, taking photographs, and right up until the very end, you could still see people there. Now there was people back there that, you know, were probably up to, you know, something not too healthy, but you know, there was people there that still, that was their neighborhood, you know, and they had pride for it, and you know, to see them pushed out, and
everyone deserves to live in a clean environment, a safe environment.
I believe so.
Right?
In an affluent city like this, it's you know, give people a fair chance.
But
sure.
I think sometimes we don't get in deep on this mold issue.
Oh, well.
I mean, it seems to me that we have an incredible mold problem, but the leadership at the Housing Authority continues to do nothing. When I say nothing, they say, well, we're doing something. Well, if the something doesn't equal something, then to me the something is nothing, right? And if you talk to residents that live there and they say, yeah, they're doing something, they just haven't gotten to us yet, to me that's still nothing. I mean,
it's sickening. It's sickening. We as residents, we're not going to keep going through this. Lead, mold, broken doors, leaking ceiling, rodents. For the last, about to be 4 years, I have been going through this. I have video in my phone. They plastering it up while it's still leaking, dripping on him as he's trying to plaster it up. The next day, up until now, it's still leaking.
For people to live in those type of conditions in which they shouldn't have to, it's very problematic, and we're very sensitive at Always Real Talk on it. I mean, I'm extremely sensitive about the people that are still living without air conditioning. Mm-hmm. And can you imagine it? People are living in air conditioning. And we have the green city. We have, you know, all of this renewable energy that's supposed to be able to, you know, take up and create energy in these particular complexes, and we don't have it. And that's because of the leadership there is just poor. And you know, email me, text me, I don't really care, because I can email and text you thousands of residents who actually live there and they've been living there for a while that deserve better.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that because I'm going to be doing some housing stories. There's been some other reporters that have done some really in-depth reporting on slum housing conditions throughout the city. I'm going to be looking at leadership, political appointees, property development. I don't want to name any particular properties at the moment.
But how about, are you going to be looking at management?
Yeah, management. I mean, don't you think
sure.
The management reports to the board, and the board has to oversee management.
You got management. You got. I mean, imagine,
we're going to get into it.
Just imagine if this was if the Housing Authority was a private-owned apartment complex owner, the city would be suing it tomorrow. You know that, and I know that for the conditions.
Well, they want to be a developer in some respects.
Well, I got you. We can go there in a second. But if they were a private apartment owner company, DCRA, the U.S. Attorney, they would be over there saying nobody should live in those type of slum conditions, and they would be holding the management accountable. But that's for another day.
Are you suggesting that they should privatize some of these government services?
No, I wanted to say that just because you live in a government-owned facility, doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the same treatment that a private owner.
No question.
Right? So I'm saying just like the private management company should be or held accountable.
No question.
Then somehow the DC Housing Authority management all the way down should be held accountable. That's just my thoughts.
You could argue that it should be even more well maintained than a private property like Sanford Capital.
Did we just come up with a creative idea?
I didn't. That wasn't my story. My colleagues were writing that story for over a year. I mean, that was an amazing series of deplorable conditions by a private property owner.
I remember it well, and that's why I made the point. Right?
The city ought to be able to do better.
We should, and guess what? Our residents are. We'll be right back with the District Dig, Jeff Anderson. Welcome back to Always Real Talk. I am here with District Dig, Jeff Anderson. Jeff, it's getting hot outside. They said the wintertime is over. Now we have the spring has come. My tulips, I've cut my grass for the first time. I went and cut my grass before it rained, and I said, it's about to get hot.
2020 is coming right around.
2020 is coming.
Yeah.
So when 2020, what's happening in 2020,
well,
Jeff?
We have elections coming, as it turns out.
My son graduates. Politics. I thought you were talking about my son graduating, Jeff.
It could be a big year for you. I don't know. People like to speculate about these things.
It's going to be a big year. You know why it's going to be a big year? I'm going to be watching the presidential election. My son's going to graduate. I can see him walk across the stage.
We're going to be watching a few elections, and people like to talk. And they like to talk about prognosticating the future and who's going to run and who's not going to run.
All right.
Now, I've been very interested for a while as to what some of our former politicians who have gone off to deal with their backgrounds and the things that they've had to go through in life and then come back to the community and start working and contributing and doing that thing. And there's a lot of curiosity, and I am curious about whether or not you're going to run for office again.
Let me tell you, did you watch the Masters this weekend?
A little bit.
I'm telling you, Tiger walked down there. They tore Tiger up. Tiger made all these mistakes, and they said, Tiger's done. Tiger's never going to come back. He can never do it again. And he was one of the greatest that ever did it. And I sat there, and when he walked down the 18th hole, Jeff, boy, I was sitting there, my son was over there, and we were just all watching Tiger, and I was feeling it, and I was so happy for Tiger. And I said, you know what? I'm glad I saw Tiger do it because I have no intentions of ever doing it again.
There, you just heard it. And the thing is that people really.
So there you go, right here.
Yeah, that's news.
You just interviewed me.
Real talk.
Real talk. You just pulled out a real talk moment.
So the speculation ends right now. You're not running.
That's right. So we could, tell the city people stop writing. Stop writing. I'm not running. You want to talk about SUV, whatever, but I'm not writing. So I'm not giving you no reason to write something.
But listen, people do like a comeback story when the person comes back with their head up high, ready to get back into life and get back into the community. Now, one of your former colleagues was testifying at the city council. I happened to be there one day. Harry Thomas Jr. I used to interview you guys back in the day when I was at Washington Times. I saw him in the hallway. A lot.
We used to hang up the phone on you a lot.
You would hang up the phone,
but I would always.
Then you'd pick it up the next time.
Now we would call.
Yeah, there's a difference in culture now.
It wasn't personal.
No, it wasn't personal, and I wrote plenty of
even though
stories.
Sometimes I thought it was personal. I say, he's writing. He's got a job. He's asking me about stuff that some. I'm not gonna call his name. Probably called him and told him, and we go back and forth. But politics is a contact sport.
It is a contact sport.
As my friend said, you're going to take a hit at some point.
And in the social media age, journalists take hits now too, and sometimes they bring it on themselves, and I know that too. So, but people love a comeback, and they love somebody that comes back with their head up high. And when I saw Harry testifying, I think on the Cromell School, and his mom was there, and I saw him in the hallway, and it was a very warm greeting. It was the first time I'd seen him since he came home. And here to tell he's around and he's involved with his community. I don't know exactly what he's doing. If I hear something that I need to look into, of course I will. But otherwise, I'm rooting
What
for
you
the
gonna look
guy.
at? Jeff, what you gonna look into, Jeff?
If somebody, if
it's amazing.
if somebody's stepping out of
start,
line,
it's,
then,
hey,
you know,
it's
I'm gonna
always
have to-
real talk. It amazes me.
You got to keep an eye on
No,
people.
no,
You got
but
to.
watch this. It's a lot of people keep an eye on, but somehow people are
but
keeping
you-
an eye on.
But you can give somebody the benefit of the doubt. and
People
you
look
can-
like me. Like everyone keeps people look like me.
Well,
Look at that.
that's
Not you,
another
Jeff.
story.
That's not you.
That's
Am I
another
right,
story.
Jeff?
I think that there's
why are you
definitely some of
looking
that
to
that
find out
happened.
why is anyone following Harry Thomas? See what he gonna do right now. Harry's gone. He's out of public office. He's out of public life. He's taking care of his family. His son is doing phenomenal. Like.
He knows I'm interested in
you-
him, and he knows that I'm rooting for him, and he knows that the Dig wants to do a story on him, because I wanted to hear the full story about what he did as a public servant, what he went through as a private citizen incarcerated, and what he went through coming back to his community. That is real talk. That's real stories and real journalism. Yeah.
It's real talk that all of a sudden, and now I'm on this side of the fence here. All of a sudden, nobody cares about good government no more. All of a sudden, I'm looking around and everyone acts like, that nothing's wrong is going on.
I'm going to give you a direct
Angels
quote.
are flying all over the District of Columbia.
I'm gonna give
It's
you
always real talk. I got to keep it real.
I'm going to give you a direct quote.
Okay.
First off, from a member of the mayor's inner circle, and I'm talking about an elder statesman, an advisor, said the mayor is all about good government. She's speaking at the Council of Governments, and they love her. They're eating it up because she's into the business of running government. Well, we have a lot of examples these days of where government's falling short. And when I ask another leader in the government, why isn't the council doing more strong oversight, fraud, waste, abuse, inefficiency, waste of money, the answer I got literally was people don't want to talk about that. It's not sexy.
Well,
They want to know if their taxes are going up or down.
Well, I have
It's not a sexy
I have a
topic,
question
apparently.
for the Dig. I know everybody else says not as sexy. I got a question for the Dig. We'll be right back. We have more to come. Jeff Anderson in the studio, always real talk. Jeff, we're talking about, the former council members. We're talking about the mayor. I mean, what people are asking. You tell me everyone else is, with the mayor. I mean, what's going on? I mean, I got to keep it real because it's real talk. I got to keep it real to real talk. I had the what do you call it? The navigator. Fully loaded.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the fully loaded man. How did you become the fully loaded man, Kwame?
Well, people-
and hold up, but no.
People
Then
love to pile on a
They say
story
they
like
want
that.
piling because he wants to be fancy. He
Right.
wants a navigator. It's amazing that Tom Sherwood. I had a navigator in my driveway, so I didn't need a navigator from the city, right? But nobody reported that, right? Because it wasn't sexy. He's like, he needed to have this fancy navigator because he wanted to live this life. But I had one, Jeff. But they spent 3, 4, 5 months on the navigator
It's
that
true.
I didn't even really pay for. And they never talked about the first navigator that Alan Liu and them purchased, went up front, went to MPD because they lied about they bought a lease up front. So they had to get a second one, and they hid it. And when they hid it, then the media came out and said, "Oh, it's my fault."
Are you suggesting there's a double standard?
No, I'm saying it's a double standard. This is always real talk.
Okay.
People I know,
I
they
think
know
that's
it's a double
true.
standard.
I think there is a double standard in terms of.
Did you just say it was a double standard?
I think it's a double standard. Yeah.
Okay, Obama pump. There we go.
It's true. I mean, this
we
is
go.
what I hear from residents all over the city and the people I talk to. That's what I hear, and I report what I hear. So.
That you do. You do report
And
what
I
you
want to say, with regard to a vehicle, people have the right to drive whatever vehicle they want. So I'm not going to criticize somebody's choice of a vehicle. You paid the price for the things that accompanied your, investment in a vehicle or however that was handled. But the point is that the media does pile on a story like that. It's to try to
that's
be out
true.
front of the news.
That's real talk. That's
I
real
did
talk.
write
You
about
did.
some things that some of the aforementioned folks didn't appreciate, and I'm always there to account for my work. My name's on it. You don't like something you read, you call me. I'll meet you in person. So I do write things that make people.
And that's why we're here talking,
Some
right?
people get the blues, and then some of the things I write. But the fact is that I try to be factual, and I try to give them a chance to.
Why is it a double
explain to me.
standard? Why do you think it's a double standard in journalism? Does it exist the way it used to?
DC has got a split personality, if you will.
Split personality. How do you define that word split?
Well, we have the old DC, the Chocolate City, and we have the decline of the African American, the black community in DC, and we have the rise of an affluent white community, and that reflects itself in government. I think that we're getting.
But that shouldn't affect the the professionalism of journalism. That should be equal across the board, shouldn't it?
I'm not going to say that journalism. I'm going to say maybe the powers that be it affects. I mean, a lot of people have said, with regard to a current scandal that I won't get into in detail, that had it been a black politician that has been found to be doing certain kinds of things that a white politician has been found to be doing, that it might have been a different type of reaction. That is what people say. Okay, that's something that people can argue about, but I hear that repeatedly.
What do you hear?
Well, I hear with regard to if that had been a black politician, then so-and-so would have been, bounced from this, that, or the the I mean, I think that...
Well, I think it would have been in the paper.
That's a double
I think
standard.
It would have been in the paper.
I mean,
I think it is. I mean,
regular people see
they
that.
told me I should have resigned over a SUV. So, I mean...
It's not for me to say.
I mean, that's what they told me. They told me I should pay everything back, and I should resign, and I should, basically go to hell because I was, no good.
I mean, I think generally speaking, journalists want to be fair across the board. I'm not suggesting that the media necessarily is the source of the double standard. I'm saying that the powers that be maybe just
I like the way
was that a little not less is that a little less real to talk?
Yeah, I think you would clean it up, but it's okay.
It's easy to pile on. One of our current council members had a really rough year last year. He made some real missteps, some gaffes. Things just got worse and worse for him a while. He kept his head up and he dealt with it, but people wouldn't stop coming. They jumped all over it. It's too easy. It's an easy story, and then everybody flocks to it. And I know for a fact that reporters kind of get their jollies off of it, and on social media, you can see people enjoying, that so-and-so's in trouble over, the talk about a weather, conspiracy or something. And, that's not what the Dig's about. I mean, the Dig might be about some things that some people find gives them discomfort, but we're going to be factual. We're going to try and lead the news.
Well, let me just say, it's interesting because there's someone who's, a former elected official, clearly hands weren't as clean as they should be. God is good. And that's why watching Tiger Woods and watching the grace that people with really rooting for Tiger.
People love a comeback story. They love a success story.
But it's really about making sure that as we move forward, we love to continue to have the Dig on, talking about what's going on, what's hot, what's not, whether it's locally, whether it's on the federal side, whether what's going on in the community. I mean, like I said, to run into you, you're at Whole Foods and talk. You walk down the street, you're talking to the lady next door about whatever's going on. You're always talking to the people, and always real talk. We're in the streets, we're talking to people all the time.
People in D.C.,
so
regular people in D.C. are the friendliest people in the world, the
Absolutely.
easiest people in the world to talk to. You can stop and talk to almost anywhere, any person almost anywhere. There's exceptions, but people want to talk about anything. Talk about the Redskins, talk about the weather, talk about development on H Street.
They'll
talk about how their day is going.
They'll talk about how their day is going because D.C. is the greatest city on earth. But I want to thank you for coming by. It's always
Appreciate
a pleasure
you.
in the studio. Jeff Anderson from District Dig. Follow him. How can we follow you? District Dig.
www.districtdig.com and @DistrictDig.
@DistrictDig. Look him up. Follow him. DistrictDig.com.
Relaunching in 2019.
2019, right before 2020.
That's right.
All right.
We're going to hold you to your word, though. If I see you out there on the stump, then I'm going to remind you of this conversation.
Well, I'm going to be out there on the stump. I run. I run on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And for all who want to run,
not for office, though.
You could come run. Oh, yeah, not for office. I run. So anybody wants to come run, I love to run.
Okay.
It's one of the best things I do. It's always real talk. It's real. Jeff Anderson. It's good.